Young Justice Season 3. Listen, man, as much as many love to hate it, Young Justice has been a good show and done justice, no pun intended, by the heroes we've come to love. I've enjoyed doing these retrospectives and revisiting and learning new parts of the show that I may have missed in previous viewings of the show. As we know, or if you watched my closing of Season 2 retrospective, Young Justice met with an unfortunate cancellation due to toy sales. Greg Wiseman was quick to acknowledge this, saying Mattel saw no future in the toy sales, thus funding was pulled for the show. However, the show saw some potential on Netflix, and creators constantly encouraged the fans to watch the show on Netflix, even purchase the Blu-ray discs, believing constant viewership could influence HBO to continue the show. By November 7, 2016, Sam Register of Warner Brothers Animation and Digital announced that they heard the fans' cries and decided to pick up Young Justice for a third season, also announcing Wiseman and Vietti would return as showrunners. The two writers had already been hard at work on the story for Season 3, seeing many of the original team returning in some capacity, while introducing a few new ones that appeared outside of the show. Many fans were upset the show would be airing on a streaming service rather than television channel, but it made sense to me. These characters are growing, getting older, so their threats have to match their maturity level. The story of the series takes place 2 years after the events of Season 2, after the team has defeated the Reach. That statement by itself is enough to disappoint fans. Because the show once again skipped an interesting amount of comic book storylines fans would have liked to see. We'll cover those as we continue. The series would center around the metahuman trafficking as it had reached galactic levels, meaning Earth isn't alone in using metahumans for their selfish reasons. In Episode 1, Prince is All, we see how true this has become, as the Justice League encountered a metahuman weapon while trying to save a planet from an invasion. This version of a metahuman is made of molten rock, and we actually see this more than once. Jeff, aka Black Lightning, manages to stop the metahuman, although he does kill the creature accidentally. This will be a small arc his character goes through in this season. I say small for a reason, but it does evolve into something else. We get a deeper look at both sets of teams. The Covert team and the League have altered members over these past 2 years. Some of the Covert members we previously met: Tim Drake's Robin, Blue Beetle, Wonder Girl, Bart Allen, Kid Flash. New members would consist of Sissy King's Arrowette, Virgil Hawkins' Static Shock, Stephanie Brown Spoiler, and Tracy Thurston's aka 13. We'll cover a couple of the new team members because honestly 2 of them I wasn't familiar with. I'll begin with Arrowette. Sissy King Jones became a protege to Green Arrow after we met her in Season 1 and appears again in Season 2. By Season 3, she takes on the mantle of Arrowette. She's a skilled fighter, even gaining archery skills that land her in the Olympics. Her mother, Bonnie King, had previously been known as Miss Arrowette, although I'm not sure if the show completely aligns with the 1998 comic. Her and Bart Allen become extremely close, and she joins Batman's secret team after the League disbands. Next, Virgil Hawkins, aka Static Shock. Now, many fans remember he appeared in Season 2 after the Reach had kidnapped him and endowed him with electric-based powers. By the end of Season 2, he decides to do something worthwhile with his powers and joins the team. He creates a bond and mentor with Jefferson Pierce. When the League leaves, he remains with the Covert team. Stephanie Brown, Spoiler, a member of the Bat family, joins the team after the events of Season 2. After Black Beetle and the Reach kidnapped several kids, she was picked up in Bloodhaven after escaping her father. She's seen after Tim and Barbara rescue them. It's unknown when, but a year before the events of Season 3, she joined the team. She also joins Batman's secret group, and I've been reading Stephanie Brown's comics in which she becomes a new Batgirl and works alongside Oracle. She becomes a great hero, even taking on the likes of Calculator and Clayface. Tracy Thurston, aka 13, was one of the few heroes I had no history with. Tracy would become a hero after being found and recruited by Satana. She has what's called bad luck magic, giving her the ability to affect probabilities in her favor. She also has a lizard named Leroy who can communicate with her telepathically. With this first episode, we get an idea of what the season revolves around. Metahuman trafficking has become a unique problem, and not just on Earth. However, on Earth, the Justice League struggles as their efforts in space has left them unable to protect Earth. This is not solely their fault, as Lex Luthor, now the leader of the United Nations, has stonewalled the League's efforts to conduct humanitarian missions around the world. This makes the League lose public support. This affects many of the group. Now, before we go further, I'll discuss the few changes the League has seen as well. First and foremost, leadership has indeed changed. Aquaman, as he's now taken the mantle from his king, Arthur Curry, now leads the Justice League. While the mantle of Aquaman wasn't too surprising, seeing him leading the League, that was unexpected. But also a choice I could see the League making. Calder has always been a solid leader of the team. He's led the covert team with strength, determination, and skill. Seeing him elevate to League status was good to see. Quite a few new faces have joined the League as well. Some of these names include Katana, Batwoman, and Hardware. Batman, believing the League is seeing no headway with their efforts, decides to resign from the League. He's joined by Green Arrow, Plastic Man, Katana, Hardware, and Bat. One of the things I did appreciate through this scene was Black Canary's unwillingness to abandon the League or Calder. Despite her marriage to Ollie, Diana shows a strong level of loyalty to her team. Jeff decides to resign from the League, not able to come to terms with the death of the young girl. While his decision was understood, I had a difficult time seeing how he believed this was the best choice. Granted, I know Jeff has daughters, but leaving the team seemed more like giving up rather than moving forward. Batman tries to recruit Jeff, but I like how he refuses, unwilling to join Batman Incorporated, which is smart. Listen, I love Batman. I think we all do. But Jeff has a point here. Batman has always operated on tactical need to know basis, looking at his partners less like teammates and more like pieces on a chessboard. This makes it hard for people to trust his decisions. The covert team is also broken up by this decision. This includes Robin, Arrowette, and Spoiler. Nightwing, after leaving the team, discovers that several Meta children have indeed been kidnapped, and we also see the Markovian king and queen have been assassinated. Wiseman narrated this article about this dark tone. I'll share it with you guys. With the jump from cable television to the streaming world comes new freedoms for Young Justice. We may not be gearing up for curse words like in the case of another DC Universe show, but according to Wiseman, because we're on a streaming service and we're not on Cartoon Network, we don't have Cartoon Network standards and practices. Departments can't tell us what we can and can't do. That has freed us up, and this season is more mature. It's a little darker, definitely delves deep into our characters and allows us to delve deeper into the comic universe. Honestly, I actually enjoy this. The characters are getting older, and getting older in age brings much more complex issues. Human trafficking is a real issue in the world today, and it fits because in this universe, the metahumans are considered less than human and dangerous. Dick manages to rally Artemis, Connor, and Jeff to help him with the investigation into Markovia. Artemis happens upon a young woman being buried until she revives from death. The Lamb, brother of the Queen of Markovia, has been working alongside Vertigo on the transformation of metas in the country. Unbeknownst to the two of them, one of the scientists, Dr. Jace, has decided to help one of the princes, Brion Markov, to start his metagene. His desire for this is not only due to their parents' death, but the missing sibling and Princess Tara Markov. The bloodline seems to share rock-based powers as we see Brion's power is more burning rock and Bedlam's allows him to transform into rock. With Bedlam and Brion both outed as metas, Gregor takes his mantle as king and exiles Brion. This season also allows many of the unknown heroes to grow. Nightwing gets an opportunity at growth. During the season 2 finale, with Wally's death, he opts to resign from the team and leave leadership in Calder's hands. Here in this season, he decides to run solo, not having faith in teams anymore. I like how this is explored in episode 4, Private Security, alongside the multiple clones of Roy Harper, which include Roy, Will, also known as Red Arrow, and Jim Harper, formerly Guardian. Will, now leading a company known as Bowhunter Security, tells Dick to join the Harpers on a job and they will help him with his meta trafficking problem. Guilty pleasure, this is actually one of my favorite episodes. Brick attempts to steal the items and the team stops him. It's a very funny episode as Brick has no idea who they are. But it's also a great episode as Will calls Dick out for his guilt over Wally and that he needs to guide the Markovian kids because they need a leader to help them cope. I like how this season uses some of the retired heroes, allowing them to shine. It also doesn't skip out on the events of the previous seasons, allowing the characters to still struggle with them. This is evident in this episode as we see Zatanna gets the opportunity to meet with her father, Sotaro, as in previous season, he became the vessel for Nobu, aka Dr. Fate, as Fate had agreed that every year the father and daughter would have a couple hours together uninterrupted. We get a closer look at intergalactic fallout of the metahuman trafficking in episode 5, Away Mission, when Orion of New Genesis had been stealing resources from the bug creatures on the planet's surface. Bear, a citizen of New Genesis, reaches to Earth's team for assistance. Miss Martian leads the recent new members, Static, 13, Kid Flash, and Wonder Girl. A golden opportunity to see some of the new heroes in the fight. The episode exposes lies as well as it is, in fact, Macomb, McGann's brother, who has taken Orion's form to gather resources for power. The new team members breathe a new perspective on the show. When discussing the third season, additions to the team and its lineup, Wiseman said that while the show would continue to focus on the characters introduced in the first season, they also wanted to introduce new characters as Young Justice is a show about generations. According to Vietti, outsiders would revisit ideas that he and Wiseman had originally planned while making the first two seasons of the series. Episode 6, Rescue Op, as well as Episode 7 and 8, we get a deeper understanding of some of our new characters, Brion and Halo. Halo's story is quite interesting. As we understand, she has a multitude of powers, from levitation, energy blasts, and even an extreme healing factor. We come to understand that after Gabrielle's death, she becomes a living mother box. As I would understand, Halo became a character created to appeal to the demographic of the LGBTQ community. No identity, and searching for a way to dictate her own terms. Her character is still a great teammate and even gains feelings for Brion. She's manipulated by Dr. Jace, however, into believing she is dying, which is a lie. She toys with the strings between Violet and Brion to keep Brion on her side. Jace sells her to Ultra Humanite eventually, and by episode 22, Antisocial Pathologies, we see Violet is the finishing clue to the anti-life equation. Using her mother box powers to affect Gretchen Good's torture dimension, she becomes too powerful, incapacitating the League. Brion immediately became a character I was extremely annoyed with. Now, to be fair about his anger, being excommunicated from your family kingdom and losing your parents and sister is fair enough argument. But it seemed like the writers were hoping to make him a ripoff of Season 1 Angry Connor. Brion acts like an arrogant dick most of the time. He's often angry at Dick for not immediately searching for Tara, but even when he gets what he wants, Brion still throws an attitude.
Just be patient.
Will we follow up on the Santa Prisca lead or not?
What makes you think that lead isn't being followed up on as we speak?
Are you keeping me in the dark about what's being done to save my own sister?
I'm doing what's best.
When they do get information about the League of Shadows possibly having her, he immediately wants to run off to find her, which leads into a fight between the Covert team and the League of Shadows. Throughout the season, though, his character seems to balance out with the saving of his sister Tara. The realization of Gabrielle killing her parents leaves him in a broken state, but not angry. His feelings are generally valid. He loves Violet, but seeing the same face responsible for the deaths of the most two important people in your life is haunting. He eventually finds himself and even takes on a leadership role on the team in episode 24, Into the Breach. By the season finale, Nevermore, he chooses the throne of Markovia over his allies, killing Bedlam, betraying Gregor, and losing Tara and Violet. This also alienates him from the team. He allows Dr. Jace to return and also takes on the heroes of Infinity Inc. But these aren't his own choices, as Ahid, the royal counselor, has joined the light using his psychic powers to influence Brion. Witnessing the major behavioral issues of his character in the beginning of the season, it makes sense why he would fall in such a manner. Since we're talking about new members of the team, I'll discuss Forager next. Forager, the bug-like alien, also joins the team. Of all the new members, he's the most loyal. Looking at the team like a hive, something to be protected and cared for. Crazy how he's an alien and yet the most human. He usually refers to himself in the third person, as most insects consider themselves drones, part of a larger collection. He does go to school alongside Violet, being able to use a glamour charm to appear human. That first person preference of conversation really gets annoying in this episode. Fred Bug with two G's was getting on my damn nerves.
Is Fred Bug with two G's. Oh, wait. Fred Bug with two G's, understand? Has passed since Fred Bug with two G's was amongst. Fred Bug with two G's is Fred Bug with two G's. Violet Harper and Fred Bug with two G's and Fred Bug with two G's. If Violet Harper and Fred Bug with two G's.
Oh my god, dude, seriously. He finds some peace remaining on Earth, but also in the Genome City. You see, in episode 24, Overwhelmed, Connor brings Forager to the city controlled by genome clones and aliens. They made a home for themselves using their psychic abilities to fool outsiders into seeming as human beings. As I mentioned, this season is entirely centered around metas. This would include one of my favorites, Victor Stone, who would become Cyborg, a character who has a stake in the overall narrative. You see, Victor is a high school football star with a promising future in the sport. His problem is more personal, as his father, Dr. Silas Stone, sees no future for Victor. Hell, he barely knows his son has a 4.0 GPA. You see, by this time, Victor's mother had died, and his father is the only parent he has left. It really speaks to how kids, regardless of how strong or popular, kids care about the involvement of their parents. Due to the explosion, Victor is badly hurt, and Silas uses Father Box to save him, turning Victor half human, half robot. Victor's story is unique, and as we see, he struggles to accept that he can never have the life he once had. PTSD like this is real, as we see people in real life lose limbs or bodily or mental functions and have to live life on different terms. Vic doesn't handle it well in one episode, and Father Box becomes a dangerous split personality that keeps the characters on edge. It also makes sense his father is his trigger point, but it is good to see Silas not quit on his son. But it goes to show how some people are only willing to be there for others only after the damage is done. By the end of the season, Victor gains control of his abilities thanks to the unwillingness of Metatron's chair. He faces off against the Overlord and truly accepts who and what he is. All right, so we'll settle on the outsiders, the theme of the show. The concept of this show is incredibly strong. You see, witnessing the negativity around being a superhero, as well as seeing his own limitation, Garfield Logan, aka Beast Boy, creates the outsider. Before this, Gar had been working as an actor, the star of the show Space Trek 3016, in which he treats his power as a special effect. It's a pretty cool gig until he stumbles onto the Good Goggles, a virtual reality tool that Gretchen Good has created to lure in metahumans. Despite this reveal, Gar cannot do anything to stop her because, spoiler, Gretchen owns the studio he works under. Gar still sees the difference he makes as a superhero. On episode 17, First Impression, Gar works alongside a team of Geoforce, Wonder Girl, Static, Blue Beetle, and Kid Flash to form the Outsiders, a group of heroes not tied to politics or covert antics. You see, the League having their hands tied with the UN policies and the covert team only appearing in the shadows, the outsiders can be in the open and gain back the support of the people they swore to protect. Gar makes a good point against Calder and McGann. The heroes have become extremely limited. People needed something to rally them together, and this operation would take place without the League, offering them integrity away from Luther's influence. And I really like this team imitating the season 1 team.
Get on board or get out of the way.
Gar uses plenty of his payments from Good World Studios to fund the team. They have a positive impact. This episode brings season 2 antagonist The Reach back in a small cameo. A young girl is kidnapped and the outsiders spring into action. Although they are successful at the mission, we later find out the entire situation was orchestrated by Batman Incorporated to make the outsiders look good to the public. After a couple of successful missions, we are all outsiders, trends all over the world. Successful or not, this doesn't stop Jefferson from blowing the whole thing wide open. You see, after the events of episode 22, Antisocial Pathologies, the team saves Dick and Jefferson from being tortured by Gretchen Good. But Dick is still in bad shape. Jefferson sees the group conspiring together and he pieces everything together. You see, Batman Incorporated also included members McGann and Calder, and also Dick himself. Every single situation that occurred had been orchestrated by the Batman team from the time Dick brought Jeff into the fold back in episode 2. This severely pisses him off, and rightly so. Jeff always hated the secrets. It makes it hard to trust people you work with without all the cards on the table. He doesn't want to join Batman because of this, and yet they force his hand anyway by manipulating him. Gar is also pissed as every mission the Outsiders took part in was put in place by Batman's team. Barbara, however, does make a good argument, claiming the Outsiders' ignorance kept them conscious clear, making their actions more authentic. One side note here, I really like when Barbara confronts Bruce about his need to keep secrets for his mission, as opposed to the mission. Bruce says he wouldn't need to be protected like the others were, but that's not entirely true. You see, if we pay attention to Bruce's past, he was kept in the dark about his father's true involvement in Gotham. If he didn't like those secrets, you'd think he'd know better than to keep secrets from his team. The team deals with some personal fallout in episode 18, Early Warning, which left me scratching my head a little bit. Okay, so after the Outsiders save the town, Luther, the douchebag, tries to appeal to the kids' innocence, being exploited, and possibly being endangered. This leads to some of the parents and adults responding negatively to the Outsiders. Jay Garrick, Bart's legal guardian, Eduardo Dorado Sr., Ed's father, and Dr. Helen Sandsmark, Cassie, aka Wonder Girl's mother. The three adults come to complain that the heroes should resign, believing that they put themselves in greater danger going public. This doesn't make any sense to me, and the heroes would call this out. It's understood why the parents are afraid for them, but that ship has sailed, dude. These kids have faced quite a few serious threats. Perhaps not Justice League level villains, but Black Beetle and Lobo are nothing to smirk at. I mean, in season 2, Black Beetle literally tried to put Wonder Girl through the wall.
Halfway, the hard way.
Yet somehow, because they are no longer covert, didn't mean danger wasn't already present. It is good to see the three heroes stand together because not only do they want to help people, they want to set an example to young metas about the good they can do with their gifts. This is extremely important to Ed. When it comes to the season antagonists, I felt like there was no clear single one. For the bulk of the story events, Granny Goodness, a servant of Darkseid, creates much of the season's anarchy. Her main goal was to gain control of anti-life, an equation that destroys free will. It can control metahumans, but eventually kill humans like the Green Lanterns. When we meet Gretchen, she comes off as a peaceful character and Gar's boss until after Gar is affected by the good goggles. The team put everything together to realize she's indeed Granny Goodness, a new god and subordinate to Darkseid. Most of her interactions in terms of conflict are with Garfield Logan. She doesn't really get into combat with many other characters outside of torturing them. I won't lie though, she comes off as menacing and scary. She has this perfect balance of seeming more scary when she tries to talk in that light and happy tone that most people think of when they talking to an elderly person. But she instantly switches up that on a dime and can almost growl when she's getting angry.
Shh. Hush now. It's all right. Everything.
The light is still a force creeping around this season.
right.
Vandal still controls the light, which consists of Lex Luthor, Queen Bee, Ultra Humanite, Clarion, Slade Wilson, and Gresham. It seems each of the light members, with the exception of Lex and Gretchen, move around like the villain of the week. This doesn't really put me off the series as the new antagonists take the center stage, while we see many of the villains still have some measure of control. Lex this season moves more like an annoying mosquito, constantly putting his face on the UN to stop the heroes from acting, even trying to create his own set of heroes to dethrone the Outsiders. Slade Wilson has a little more action in this season. We do understand how he leads the League of Shadows and has also trained Tara Markov. I'm just glad they didn't go certified pedophile with the relationship. Vandal Savage also gets filler episode dedicated to his past on episode 7, Evolution. It discusses his origins of becoming a meta and also his rise to power, even giving us a deeper look into his family life. Nobu, yes, that Nobu, and his daughter Cassandra. Weird thing is, this story doesn't really have any long-lasting impressions outside of the audience understanding him and perhaps why he betrays Granny. I believe his reason's simple. The anti-life equation would have enslaved his mind and ruined his chances at gaining more power and influence throughout the world. All right, now I want to talk about missed opportunities this show had. Episode 6 also revealed a well-known DC storyline that was skipped over in the series, the death of Jason Todd. Death in the Family is a story surrounding the Joker killing Jason Todd, the second version of Robin, who Batman helped after the kid tried to steal the tires off the Batmobile. Once again, a great story I would have loved to see adapted in this universe. This death took place before season 2, yet we finally get confirmation that Jason is indeed alive, revived by the Lazarus Pits. He's one of the ninjas working with the League, and we see some of his memory is starting to return when he calls out Grayson's name. We also see Talia carrying a baby Damien, which means if we do see a season 5, Damien may be Robin or beginning to. Granted, we do get a moment to see him in a Robin suit when Guard tries to go goggles on. This season also reveals the new path for Barbara Gordon, who was once known as Batgirl, but now goes by Oracle. Now, most of the fans of the Bat family know why this happens, but we'll cover it for those not in the know. The Killing Joke, no, not that one. We don't talk about this. In the comic, The Killing Joke, Barbara is shot in the spine and by the Joker. He doesn't know she's Batgirl, as his aim was to torture Jim Gordon into madness, proving that all it takes is one bad day to drive a person mad. Batman saves Jim, but the damage had already been done, and Barbara struggles to live life, now paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair. Despite this, Barbara has leaned into her knowledge of computers, hacking, and technology to assist the team and the League in terms of communication and surveillance. Adopting the name Oracle, I've always appreciated that story, and it's always made Barbara into an amazing hero, even though she can't don the cape and cowl. The season has plenty of filler, but as many as they may be, each episode offers something to the overall narrative. Episode 8, Tricep Tech, is evidence of this. I won't lie, this episode does have some great action. We get a view of how some of the covert members of Batman's team operate. This includes Robin's team of Arrowhead, spoiler, and new addition introduced in this episode, Orphan, whose story we'll get a closer look at in season 4. The four of them track Clayface posing as Travis Ketch, aka the Mad Hatter, who has actually brainwashed the Clay villain into protecting him while he's working on a version of mind control. You see earlier in this episode, villains Mist, Livewire, and Shade attempt to steal from Dr. Silas, which fails due to the heroes getting involved. And we get one of those unique jokes in the show that everybody loves to talk about.
Go ahead, zap me. Absorbing lightning's totally my thing.
You've never had black lightning before.
Yeah, you know what he meant. Shade, however, had been mind controlled by Tech, but he's just a hand perfecting an experiment that was created by Dr. Simon Stagg, who had also been arrested. In this episode, where we also see Batman Incorporated have actually been performing their own investigations, finding out Stagg Industries is just a larger problem alongside Bedlam. Multiple episodes of the season allowed us to see more heroes in how the League has expanded. Characters such as Guy Gardner, Elongated Man, Katana, and Metamorpho get to have some pretty awesome fight scenes, and the writers really leaned into their personalities, especially Guy.
Ring of Mogo, 'tis a vision that's just world class. But when area across the galaxy, the sight none could truly surpass, is the sunrise over the gentle curves of Guy Gardner Shapely.
Kakash.
One of the other interesting features I loved about this season is that it also gives us a peek into what the families of the heroes do. In this particular episode, it shows a deep connection between each of the family members. Because of the whole secret identity thing, families of the heroes can't really discuss the hardships they deal with. Thus, they create a community that allows them to lean on each other. It kind of reminds me of how special forces or military families create their own trustworthy communities to lean on when soldiers are away from home. Now, we'll talk about the way the show wrapped up. The final 2 episodes feel like they should have happened sooner. Maybe it's just me. Okay, so when the major conflict comes to an end, it's during the structured 2-parter, episode 23, Terminus, in episode 24, Into the Breach, leads 2 sets of teams to take down Gretchen Good. And it gives each of the major characters of the season chances to shine. Like I said, Beast Boy goes up against Granny, and we get to see the growth of Geoforce as he leads Beta Team. We also see Victor lead into becoming Cyborg and fully accept himself. All great moments. But the series doesn't end here. In fact, we get 2 additional episodes, episode 25, Overwhelmed, and episode 26, Nevermore. Episode 25 settles around Artemis. You see, throughout the season, we see she struggles to let go of Wally, who died during the finale of season 2. She also begins to develop some feelings for Will, her niece's father. Many characters, including her mother, call it out. She tries to lean into those emotions, but feels like she's betraying Wally. Thus, she reaches out to Zatanna with the idea of calling out to the dead, something Zatanna tells her she cannot do. Witnessing Artemis driven to this point of pure frustration goes to show the effects of grief and how some people's emotions mutate from one to the other. She pushes and Zatanna relents. Artemis meets with Wally, and the two are given a full life in a short amount of time, including marriage and a newborn baby. She locks onto this life fully, which becomes a problem as she cannot remain in that dimension after sunrise. Zatanna and McGann try to send cryptic messages, but she ignores them. It's crazy how human beings can become so delusioned with a lie rather than facing the truth. Eventually, she's forced to accept the truth, and I love this line from Wally.
Please, 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 hold on. Hold on.
I can't, babe. Believe me, I want to. But I love you too much. I won't let you throw your life away on a memory of what was, or even on a dream of what might have been. There's a real life for you beyond this door. A chance at real love.
No, I had my chance.
You'll get another. So this very morning, I want you to stop mourning.
Whoever wrote that line, great line. However, we do see this has helped Artemis, but it's interesting as this had been a ploy both by Zatanna and McGann to trick her. As messed up as this was, I definitely understood that they feel like they needed to cross that line to help her. Events that happened alongside this episode was Connor taking Forager to the Genome City to help give him a home away from home. We even see Jim, one of the Harper clones, lives here as well. One of the major genomes offers Forager a place in the city as well as Connor, but his opinion of Connor is skewed. He calls Connor brother, but admits that Connor needs to be honest with himself about him being a clone of Cadmus. These events are pretty good and touch on the characters' arcs that began seasons ago. I truly do believe these events should have happened earlier in the season, giving the final battle a more complex sense for all the characters. My opinion of this continues in episode 26. The series comes to a close with the heroes facing off against Bedlam, who has now taken control over the country. The heroes successfully defeat him along with Vertigo. It's also revealed Tara's ties to Slade wasn't a kept secret. Batman learned this from Slade, and the team had been keeping tabs on her. Well, all except Brion, who of course announces his anger.
How could you? Why didn't anyone tell me this?
Tara refuses to kill Beast Boy as instructed. Brion, encouraged by the citizens and Zahad, the royalist advisor, kills Bedlam, which, if you've been around DC Universe, heroes never do. Which is pretty messed up, as earlier he, Gregor, and Tara were excited to return home. But as I guess, Gregor's patience wasn't a desire for Brion. Tara and Violet both deny joining him, which pisses him off further. It's a very emotional ending, and while it's a little smaller in scale, its difference is welcome. The universe ending stakes are in this season, but sometimes it's the hero's drama that is a far better ending. It doesn't mean that I have a difference in the opinion of where these episodes should have been. If I was in the writer's room, I would have suggested they'd occur before the two-parter fight with Granny. It would have been interesting seeing the team come back together after that drama, seeing Brion want to save Violet after she pushes him away. Or would Brion even be welcomed back? Would the characters have fought differently? Would there have been a different outcome? The best part about the finale is the change of leadership with the League. It looks pretty cool seeing all the heroes in one place like this. We learn that both Calder and Diane are both stepping down from their respective positions as leaders. In their place, Nightwing decides to appoint Jeff as the new leader of the Justice League. This shocks him. You see what I did there? But everyone unanimously agrees, except Batman, who doesn't have a vote. I really like how Jeff immediately weighs in on that. None of that secretive crap. He's either all in or all out. I like how he's holding Batman accountable to prevent none of the secrets. He lets each of the group remain as they are, but only encourages openness to keep their alliance stronger. I was glad to see this for Black Lightning. Jeff had a tough go of it, unintentionally killing that girl, dealing with the PTSD, ruining his powers, not to mention being manipulated by the League and Dr. Jace. Despite it all, Jeff shows up for the team when he's needed. I'll be honest, in the beginning, Jeff just seems like a whiny crybaby, especially considering the death of the girl was an accident. But it's that level of accountability that makes him perfect for the position. He encourages the heroes that the best way for them to succeed is by being open and trusting one another. He has a strong point, as that fragile trust became a problem for the heroes in all three seasons. As a matter of fact, it's trust that puts a major rift between the characters like Brion and Tara. The team didn't trust Brion about Tara, and for a major part of the season, Brion hardly trusted them as they refused to speak to him about events. All in all, guys, I liked season 3 of Young Justice. Would I say it's my favorite season? No, I think my favorite season might be season 1, honestly, so far. I have not watched season 4 in quite a while, but I am looking forward to watching it again. But I thought this season was pretty good. You can definitely tell the writers were trying to go with more complex issues to give the heroes different perspectives and different ways to challenge them. I think that's always important because I think so many fans know so much about these characters, it's really hard to find new ways of challenging them and making them grow. One of the things I also like is that this universe is always constantly changing. The heroes change, the leaderships change, relationships change. And I think that's important. That's what happens in real life. Sometimes we'll see Justice League shows or movies, and sometimes they'll just kind of restart everything every time there's a new movie, and they just kind of start off as a team together again without any of those issues coming around. But sometimes you just kind of want to see that continuation of where the story left off at. And I think Young Justice did a great job with season 3 here. I don't think it was the best, but I think it was okay for what it was. However, we are going to be moving on to season 4 soon, but I do have a couple more projects that I'm going to work on in the meantime before leading up to that. I hope you guys enjoyed this retrospective, and I will see you guys in the next one.